thank you all for joining us as we have a draft copy of the Police Reform Committee. And if we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we can start the meeting shortly thereafter. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I guess first order of business is approving the minutes from our meeting on February 8th.
Make a motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. So we have put together a draft plan of the Village of Buchanan Police Reform Committee. Of the Village of Buchanan Police Reform work that has been done by this committee. And we have put together a document that gives a little overview of the village police department, and it sort of outlines the purpose and the goals of the committee, and 9 recommendations 9 categories with different recommendations inside of each that we would like to see implemented or explored for the possibility of implementation based on feasibility and availability at some point in the future. Many of these things have been sort of discussed. We then took that information from the last meeting, put it into a more formal type document, and we are pretty much completed. And after tonight's review, it'll be open for public discussion, and we could submit this. Is everybody on the same page there?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Great, excellent. So the first few pages, as I mentioned, of this draft document is a table of contents, a description of the village as a whole, a little background on the Village of Buchanan Police Department, and again, page 4 covers the purpose and goals. And when we get to page 5 of the draft document, we start to get into the different categories of where our recommendations fall. So the first recommendation is sort of centered around the idea of community engagement. And when needed, the police department uses officers of neighboring jurisdictions who are native speakers in foreign languages to help translate. Although this practice will continue, it's recommended that additional resources be utilized. So recommendation number 1 is to increase the diversity of resources used to communicate with non-English speakers by subscribing to a language translation service that can be utilized for Spanish speakers as well as speakers of other languages. Reviewing existing and newly developed police department documents to determine which are vital documents and should be translated, and into languages and into which languages those documents should be translated. And periodically reviewing efforts of the department in providing meaningful access to limited English proficiency, LEP, individuals to police resources. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add or talk about in that regard?
No.
And it won't surprise me if there's many no's to these questions. I'll just ask and open the floor, but most of this has been reviewed, and we're all on the same page with all of this information that's being presented this evening. Under the same community engagement title, we have a recommendation number 2, which is community outreach and communication. We'd like to continue to make casual and consensual contact with community members to promote positive community relationships with our police department. Law enforcement should continue to work with the schools, businesses, and community groups in their assigned jurisdictional areas. Work with community members to identify issues and solve problems related to community relations and public safety. Conduct periodic foot patrols to facilitate interaction with community members. Meet with the Buchanan Senior Citizens Club. work with new residents. Work to meet new residents and introduce the department and the resources that are available. And continue to hold coffee with a cop and expand on informal socialization type activities.
Did Jeremy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we have the reach out to the BV schools specifically in there?
I don't think we wrote the BV school, but I think wrote schools, businesses, and community groups assigned in their jurisdictional areas, which I think only BV falls into that category.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Would you like us to add BV specifically, do you think, Dwayne?
I mean, we could kind of give them a shout out.
Okay.
We have that covered under number 5.
Yeah.
So as previously mentioned, the Buchanan Police Department is comprised, and this is naturally previously mentioned in the description of the police department, which we're not going to read for the moment, but as previously mentioned, the Buchanan Police Department is comprised of only 6 officers. Therefore, it is impossible to have a social worker or EMT who's employed by the village to respond to emergency calls. The village favors mental health professionals responding along with police officers to mental or emotional crisis situations. However, due to budgetary reasons, this has to be funded by New York State or Westchester County. So for recommendation number 3, we'd like to expand the use of emergency resources when addressing medical and social issues. And in doing so, 2 bullet points here, where it's create partnerships with health professionals that could support the village, the Buchanan Police Department during medical and social issues. If Westchester County implements a crisis intervention team, the Buchanan Police Department should utilize their services. And all Buchanan police officers should continue to be provided with a comprehensive education and training to enable them to effectively interact with persons in crisis. Anyone have any items there that they'd like to touch on or expand upon? No? Okay. So into the next recommendation, we'll be talking about body cameras, and the use of body cameras by police officers will offer accountability and transparency to the public. However, the village cannot financially afford to solely fund body-worn camera programs. The committee endorses the use of body cameras as a program in conjunction with Westchester County or other regional police departments. So for recommendation number 4, funding permitted, we would like to suggest the requirement in the use of body cameras. And some items for us to be considered in this regard: Buchanan Police Department should look into the use of the body cameras and associated costs, supplies, etc. Buchanan Police Department should look into the use of dash cameras for patrol vehicles, the cost, the supplies associated with them, etc. The Buchanan Police Department should look to utilize possible shared services with Westchester County Department of Public Safety for the data storage associated with body cameras and/or dash cameras. And should develop policies on the requirement of the use of body and/or dash cameras, as well as guidelines on their use and the release of the associated footage. Does anyone have any items they'd like to touch upon there, and to ask questions or to expand upon the ideas there? Chief, anything in here so far that you would like to touch on, or we're on a good path here? It's something that seems like we'd be able to accomplish these sets of goals.
Yeah, we're on a good path. I have no question.
Great. So under recommendation number 5, to continue partnerships with the local school community. The Buchanan Police Department will continue to visit the local school community and interact with the students, staff, and parents to build trust and to open communication. Dwayne, so we're giving a shout out to BV, I think, inside of this category here.
Yeah.
The Buchanan Police should establish a more visible presence in the schools in an effort to create trust and understanding with the school community. And the Buchanan Police should continue to be a member of the local school emergency response team. Anything that strikes anyone as an item to discuss inside of this this recommendation? Moving right along under trainings. Recommendation number 6, increase training for all Buchanan police officers in the areas of procedural justice, professional communication, and implicit bias by continuing to utilize the following: unified in-service training programs set up by Westchester County Department of Public Safety under the shared service agreement, New York State Department of Criminal Justice training offered in the local area, and training from independent and private resources, which I believe are all things that are happening. And the suggestion here is to make sure that these are maintained on an ongoing and continual basis, so that the officers are constantly being trained and updated in the newest research and application of these sorts of ideas and trainings. Is there anything here we should like to touch on, or Chief, anything here that you want to add to?
Can I ask the chief something that he said last meeting, just to confirm?
Now?
All the current officers are transfers?
Yes.
Okay, so typically no one goes through the Westchester Police Academy.
No. Or, they might have in some point in their career, but not through us, no.
Okay, and
What's on the
where do the officers come from? Is there one department in particular, or New York City?
No, throughout, mostly, our last few have been from the town of Poughkeepsie,
What's on the air
last
now?
two.
Okay. I think it's particularly important what you just said, Jeremy, about the training, because the recruits at the Westchester Academy, they get a mandated number of hours in those topics, procedural justice, anti-bias training. But the transfers, we don't know what training they've had. So it's particularly important there's ongoing training. I think that's covered in what you mentioned.
Excellent. That was the intent, Harvey, so thank you.
Jeremy, before you continue, I don't know when you will open it for questions, but if you see the attendees, somebody already has their hand up, so I don't know if you want to address any questions now or when you're completed.
So I can't see attendees with hands up, so thank you for calling it out. It doesn't show on my screen.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I got one hand, Samsung something. I don't know who it is. Do you want to allow them to speak now, or you want to wait until later on? It's up to you.
Sure. If we can have them speak now, and let's just we don't have to go backwards and recover something. They may have another question later. So sure, we can speak with them now. That'd be great.
Okay. So whoever is Samsung SMG920D, you are allowed to speak. Just have to unmute yourself. So if you want to speak, if you're on the phone, please hit *6, or just unmute yourself if you're on a computer. So Samsung SM. Oh, there you go. Perfect. You're on. Hello? You are unmuted if you want to say something. We can't hear you.
Samsung, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. I don't know if you have another means. Maybe you want to do a dial-in if it's something related to your connection. Thank you, Mr. Lent.
Okay, you can keep on going. If he comes on, he can speak. I'll allow him. I'll keep his mic open in case he wants to say anything. If he says something, you can continue.
Okay, fantastic. So that covered recommendation 6 under trainings. So under transparency, recommendation 7, the Buchanan Police Department should demonstrate greater transparency with the community members by maintaining them abreast of their policies and procedures. So to build on current efforts of transparency, the Buchanan Police Department will create a web page that includes a mission statement, information and reference to specific policies, and a link where a citizen can file a complaint anonymously. In addition, the webpage should provide up-to-date disciplinary and publishing procedures. In addition, information will be provided in reference to up-to-date use of force policy that will include updates and/or new legislation pertaining to the policy and published procedure on the Buchanan website. The Buchanan Police Department will look into participating in any shared services that Westchester County may provide, such as Office of Police Accountability. The Buchanan Police Department should continue to update and create policies as needed to foster trust, fairness, and legitimacy within the community. The department issued badge and or an authorized sewn-on cloth replica must be worn and visible at all times while in uniform. The regulation nameplate or an authorized sewn-on cloth nameplate shall be worn at all times while in uniform. And the Buchanan Police Department should supply business cards to those members whose assignment involved frequent interaction with the public. The business card should contain identifying information, including, but not limited to, the member's name, badge, or other identification number, and contact information, including telephone number or email address. Members should provide a business card upon request.
Hey, Chief? You there?
Yep.
Yeah, do we still have the good old-fashioned suggestion box for policing and or Marcus, other village affairs where resident could just put something in the old suggestion box?
I've never seen one.
I haven't seen it either. It was before my time, I guess.
That's why I called it old-fashioned. Okay. Very good. Maybe we might try and find a way to kind of reenactment that, you know, everybody's comments are always encouraged to on the police website.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Mm-hmm.
Number 8, technology. The Buchanan Police Department should look into new technology available to them, especially in the area of records management. The Buchanan Police Department should utilize a system that will provide storage, retrieval, retention, manipulation, archiving, and viewing of information, records, documents, and files pertaining to law enforcement operations. This will enable quick data entry, immediate search and retrieval, and extensive reporting capabilities. The Buchanan Police Department should look to utilize any shared services with Westchester County Department of Public Safety, including Universal Records Management System, to help promote transparency and uniformity.
That
This
line-
one makes all the sense.
Yeah,
I'm
that
so-
has to be fixed though. There's a grammatical error there that I gotta fix. All right.
Does anyone have anything that we'd like to touch on here? No? Okay. I'm not surprised. We all put in a lot of time behind the scenes here to get this stuff right so that we were presenting something that everybody was on the same page about when we met publicly. But again, in case anyone had something come to them since, I just wanted to open up the floor for any input or questions or comments. And the last section here of recommendation is under number 9. And Harvey, this was a suggestion I believe that you made, and frankly, I think it's a really great one. This is under the officer wellness banner, if you will. The mental health of law enforcement is extremely important. The stressful nature of their jobs makes it imperative for them to have access to mental health services. Currently, there is no employee assistance program in the village for our police officers. So recommendation number 9 is to establish an employee assistant program for officers of the Buchanan Police Department. And in that regard, we'd like to see some research done on the active bystandership for law enforcement project. This is referred to as the ABLE program, its components and the ability to implement it. Participate in available Westchester County programs for officer wellness, attend trainings that are available for officer wellness, and trainings that will assist with establishing an EAP, and utilize the police officer hotline if Westchester County establishes one. Chief Farrell, I think that this is something that would be really beneficial for you and the team. Is there anything here that is of concern to you, or any comments in regard to a wellness type mental health program availability for officers if they should so desire or need one?
I think this was a great addition right at the end. I appreciate it coming through, and no, this is important. This is absolutely important, and I think it's going to work out well.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions, comments, or concerns about the last recommendation here, or in general, anything else that we've been working on for the past several weeks?
I just have one question. Is there annual physical required at all for the police, for your policemen or women?
No, there's not.
Okay.
Jeremy, if I may, besides the panelists, any attendees, if they want to raise their hand, I just want to bring it up again, just to give everybody the opportunity. If they're on a cell phone, hit *6 to unmute yourself, *9 to raise your hand. Anybody on the computer, on the iPad, all they got to do is raise their hand. Just want to bring it up again. That way, anybody wants to say anything, they have the opportunity to say something now. So far, no one has raised their hands, Jeremy. I'll let you know if anybody does.
Okay. So I think that we've covered everything that we were hoping to cover this evening, and it seems that this draft plan is pretty much ready for us to submit to the village board for them to review, share with the public, and have opportunity for people to read it and then have public comment on it at our next meeting. And if everyone on the committee is in agreement with that, then we can have this disseminated to Marcus, who can share it with the board. And in terms of timing, it seems that we have wrapped up the effort here, and have the opportunity now to present this in a final format. So at our next meeting in 2 weeks, we should be able to be completely and totally done, unless, of course, there's public comment that requires us to go back to the drawing board on any of these items. Is everyone in agreement there? Is there any concerns or anything of the sort that we should talk about?
There's a comment posted.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's from, you got that? You can read that, Marcus?
Yep, good. Okay, Chairman, you can read it.
So Cheech has, which is Mr. Pasquale, has indicated that the police wellness program is vital and excellent idea. Thank you for the support, Cheech. We appreciate you.
And that's coming from a former New York City police officer who definitely knows what it is to be out in the street. Thank you, Trustee Cheech.
So if we're going to approve the items of discussion for the next meeting, which will be the opportunity for the community to speak to this plan once it's made public, I think that we will be in compliance with the New York State requirement, and having had an opportunity to sort of dig in and review things as they relate to the Buchanan Police Department. And I have to say, Chief Farrell, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time and your effort here. You've shared a tremendous amount of information, and I'm sure burned the midnight oil more than once in order to help get some of the information for us to put into this plan. So thank you very much for all the effort. And I'd like to thank Harvey. Harvey Loeb has been incredibly supportive and helpful here. He's raised a perspective I never would have had based on his professional experience. And to each of the people on the panel, thank you all very much. This was a really great team effort. And it was a nice opportunity to work with people that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise had an opportunity to work and mix and mingle within the village and with the hectic schedules of everyone else's life. So I'd like to thank all of you for your time and effort in this project. And Dwayne, thank you very much for the guidance and for your support here. And Marcus, thank you as well. You've done a great job assisting us to make sure this was successful. And I'm grateful for your efforts also. Thank you.
And Jeremy, you've been a great chairperson.
Yes.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Jeremy, yes.
Jeremy,
Thank you.
Wilda,
Thank
you
you,
guys
Jeremy.
both have put in a lot of time individually.
Thank you.
Good job.
So my work isn't done yet. Marcus, before you share this out, I noticed on recommendation number 9, I put numbers instead of bullet points. I want to keep it uniform across the board. So I'm going to polish that up and I'll send you a clean copy.
Great, that'll be good. So the only thing I would recommend is that if you guys are willing to release this, just take a simple motion to have this report placed on the website for public comment, and you'll have one more meeting before we release it to the board, but at least the public has time to review it before your next meeting. I assume that's what your plan is, correct?
Yeah.
That is absolutely the plan. Yes.
Great.
So if someone would like to make that motion to,
I'll
to
make
release
that
the-
motion.
thank you. Great. All in
I
favor?
agree.
Aye.
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 Great. Awesome. So, so we'll go ahead and have this sent over. Wilda, you'll make the adjustments if you
Yeah,
want me to
make
read
the
it.
adjustments. You'll get it within the hour.
Who's better than you?
You're too much. You're too good.
Hey, guys, I just want
I hate not meeting a deadline.
to say to all the members, Diane, Paul, Daniel, James, Jeremy, Wilda, Linda, and loving Harvey and Steve, who was here at the beginning. It's taken a team effort to put this together, and it really shows the communityism that exists here in Buchanan. And as I so often say, this is small town America, and we're lucky to be in proximity to one of the greatest metropolitan areas, but also to have the services, the community, and in this case, certainly the camaraderie that comes along with being in a small place. And I appreciate that. And as the mayor often says to all of us, have a great Buchanan Day.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Well, unless you guys all want to just hang out for a little while longer, I think.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
All right. Good night,
Have a great
everybody.
night, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Jeremy.
You got it. Have a great night, everybody.
You too.
You too.
Bye-bye.